Why is math so hard? And no, that's not a facetious question. I'm genuinely asking. It's not supposed to be condescending or patronizing. Math is truly, genuinely hard for a lot of people. It's the hardest thing that people have to do, really, when you think about it. And I think I can provide an answer. I think I can provide some insight. But first, if math is not hard for me, if math is not hard for you, then you should consider yourself very lucky. Because I didn't learn this until I was older. I was lucky that I got through school and math was one of my easiest subjects, but I didn't realize the implications of that until much later. So let me try to explain it. Math doesn't exist, at least not in the real world. It doesn't exist in our world, in the world of seeing and feeling and touching. Math, there's two schools of thought about this. Math is either something that exists entirely in the human mind, or it is something that exists outside of our physical reality, something that's higher, something that's called transcendental, meaning that it is a higher truth that just permeates our world and applies to it, but doesn't actually exist in our world. Math is abstract, transcendental. It Let me tell you what I mean. So when we're little and we're learning about the world, this is true of everyone, we start applying names to things. We start learning about things in a certain way. And in psychology, they're called schema. So when you're a little baby and you see a dog for the first time, what you're actually seeing is like this four-legged fuzzy thing with a tail and maybe a long nose or whatever, and you have no idea what you're looking at. But someone tells you that that is a dog, right? And then so your brain, it says, okay, that thing that I'm seeing, that's a dog. Let me take a mental note of it. And then you're still a little baby and you're crawling around, and then you see another fuzzy four-legged creature with a tail, and you say, oh, that's a dog. But then someone corrects you and they say, no, that's not a dog, that's a cat. And then your brain will try to compare the two. They'll say, okay, well, that was a dog and this is a cat. Let me find what's different. And your brain comes up with new schema, and that's how you categorize the world. That's how you learn what red is. You see red apples and a red fire truck and a red this and a red that, and then your brain starts to understand what the word red is. And it works that way with everything, even verbs like running. It's like, okay, well, I can see that person running, so that must be what running is. Math is different. There is nothing in the world that you can point to and say, that is the number 3, or that is addition, or just to... So, okay, the way that you learn numbers in general is you have to see 3 things together. You don't see the number 3. You can see a symbol that represents the number 3, but that's not what 3 is. You see 3 dogs together, 3 cats together, 3 apples together, 3 markers together, whatever, and then only through pattern recognition do you truly understand 3, because 3 doesn't exist. Well, math can only be taught through repetition. So that's why we do a bunch of math problems. That's why we have people count over and over again. It's why they add and they subtract over and over again, because we can teach you the rules. We can teach you the rules. We can tell you what to do, and we can have you do it. But that doesn't develop understanding. And that's one of the difficulties for math teachers, is we can teach you how it's done. We can even tell you why it's done, but we can't understand math for you. Math is taught through repetition, but math is understood through pattern recognition. The recognition of patterns, of things that you can't touch or see or feel, things that don't exist in our world. And everybody is limited by their ability to recognize patterns. And some people, patterns come easier than others. But everyone has a threshold, and that's okay. As you're learning math this year, just keep in mind that what you're doing, what you've accomplished so far before even getting into my class, it's extraordinary, and most humans have never been able to do it. You are at the peak of humanity by getting as far as you have. And so when you're really sitting down and you're struggling to understand something and it's just not making sense, well, first you have to just take a deep breath and say, I'm doing something really difficult. I'm doing the most difficult thing that humans will ever do. And you're completely honest in telling yourself that. But then sit back and take a deep breath and say, this is just repetition. If I try hard enough, and if I do this enough, the pattern will become available to me. I will understand the pattern. It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. So that is why math is so hard. It takes a lot of work, and it takes a spark of what's called recognition. Now, we all hear that word, recognize, recognition. We hear it all the time. But no one ever really thinks about what it means. In English class, you learn what the roots of words means. There's which means to do again, and cognition. What is that? To cognize. Have you ever heard the word cognize? To be conscious of something. Cognize is think. So when you recognize, you are thinking again. Okay? So when you're learning math, try to recognize, think again, and again, and again, and again, and think again, and think again, and think again, until the pattern comes into your brain. That's how it's done. That's math. And that's why it's hard. Anyway, have a good day.